Meeting has started.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Kerala Society of Ophthalmic Surgeons is celebrating the World Glaucoma Week with a large number of public awareness and medical education programs. In a perfect coincidence, the International Women's Day also happens to fall in the midst of the World Glaucoma Week. And who better to celebrate it with than Professor Ramanjit Sihota, who is the creme de la creme of the Indian, or rather the world ophthalmologist fraternity. I congratulate you, all of you, on International Women's Day and welcome you to the program. Next, I request Dr. Arup Chakravarti, President of KSOS, to welcome Professor Sihota and the audience.
Thank you, Dr. Smita, and good evening, everybody. It's really a pleasure to be able to participate in this meeting and inaugurate this particular program, which is really special and very unique for the reasons which Smita has already mentioned. I think from 1977 onwards, the World Women's Day has been mainstreamed, and we have been celebrating it. And this is a special year because it coincides with the World Glaucoma Week. For the information of Madam and others, Gopal and Srini and rest of us have chalked out a very, very intense program for the World Glaucoma Week. Every day, something or the other is happening. And as regards the International Women's Day, there is definitely a great need for us to celebrate or observe a day like that. We talk very highly about P.T. Usha, Anju Bobby Jodhe from Kerala, Deepa Karmakar, and all that, but when it comes down to the brass tacks, do we really, celebrate the achievements? Do we really promote, the growth and development of the women folk in the world? If I see my career in AIOS for the last, maybe since 1990, when I became a member, I can remember only two lady AIOS presidents, Dr. Sudha Sutaria Madam and Dr. Anita Panda. In fact, our own state association had a lady president after a 27-year hiatus. And when I did the research of the scientific programs of KSOS for the last 2 years, I noticed that most of the paper presenters, video posters, presenters are ladies, and they're running them with all the awards. But when it comes to faculty position in terms of chairing a session or heading an organization, there are not many of them. So definitely something has to be done in this regard. And we would like to get an inspiration from Professor Dr. Ramanjit Sihota. Madam has Kerala roots. I think it will come up during her introduction and during the subsequent discussion. And she has been a giant in the field. She was the founding treasurer of the Glaucoma Society of India. And Madam, we are really looking forward to listen to your journey and benefit from your words of wisdom. I wish the program all the very best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Arup. Thank you, Dr. Arup. And now I request Dr. Gopal Pillai, Secretary of KSOS, to offer his felicitations. Dr. Gopal.
Thank you very much, Dr. Smita, for involving me in this. I am, Madam is my teacher, and a lot of pleasant experience with Madam as teacher. I'm all ears to hear from her. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gopal. Next, I request Dr. Srini Edaklon, Chairman of a Scientific Committee of the KSOS, to offer his felicitations. Dr. Srini.
Thank you, Dr. Smita. Again, I'm another student of Madam Ramanjit Sihota. And I always tell the young girls who come and work with me and all, I usually tell them, see Dr. Laila Madam. She took care of family, and she's now a giant in pediatric ophthalmology. And see, these sort of inspirational talks and life experiences from giants and feel like Ramanjit Madam would definitely inspire our youngsters. As you know, more than 90% of our ophthalmology, young ophthalmologists are girls. And I'm sure your interaction with Madam would inspire all our kids to really do well in their life, everything in their life, their family, the career, everything. I'm sure this is going to be a really wonderful. Thanks for inviting me in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Srini. I request Dr. Gopal to carry with the program.
Me, ma'am? Yeah.
Gopal, may I introduce Dr. Sihota?
Yes, yes, yes. Please,
okay.
Please, please.
Okay. Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. I have this pleasant work of introducing Dr. Sihota, but to tell the truth, Madam Dr. Sihota needs no introduction, and I mean every word of it. I shall speak a few words about her illustrious career, only to highlight how many glass ceilings have been broken by her, very seemingly effortlessly. All of us can take tips from her journey and emulate her decisions as we deem fit. Dr. Sihota is presently the head of glaucoma services at Dr. Shroff's Eye Center in New Delhi. She retired last year, that is in 2021, after leading the cataract services and glaucoma research facility at the RP Center, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, and therefore she has a vast student followership. She is a part of the National Task Force in Glaucoma, and she is one of the topmost researchers in angle closure disease in India and in the world. She has been the president of Glaucoma Society of India, and most famously, most of you will recognize her as the editor of her own Parsons Diseases of the Eye. To her credit, she has made Parsons eminently readable, especially in my opinion, by removing all the double negatives. She has written numerous chapters in books in the field of glaucoma, and her latest is A Practical Approach to Glaucoma. Above all, she is a passionate teacher and a compassionate ophthalmologist. Today, on International Women's Day, Dr. Simi and I have the good fortune of interviewing Professor Sihota, who thankfully is on the other side of the table, though she has been threatening to turn the tables on us.
I will.
Good evening.
And when you hear I will, she will do that also.
Good evening, madam, and welcome to our special program. So many of our members are eagerly waiting to hear from you. I hope that our conversation does the justice to their interest. So my first question is, let us start from your postgraduate days. You were a stellar student at CMC Vellore, and then you had a change of place for doing post-graduation at RP Center, Delhi. There you were thrown before very strict, very tough taskmasters with reputed short fuses for their temper. How were your initial days? And how did you build that work pressure to your advantage?
Well, I think like most undergraduates, we don't do much ophthalmology. So yes, when I came from CMC to RP Center, I joined a unit that was doing strabismus and retina. So you all know how much in undergraduation we learn of either of these two.
Yeah.
And I arrived on an admission day, which meant that, you know, as a junior resident, I was supposed to be working up patients with strabismus, with retinal problems. So I got two retinal patients, two strabismus patients to work up. I had no idea whether it was a convergent squint or a divergent squint. I was so bad at that time. So I requested a person who was senior to me and probably well known to a lot of you, Dr. Ravi Thomas.
Oh.
He was from CMC and I knew him and he was in Art Center. So I said, Ravi, you have to come and show me what to do. So he said, okay, I'm coming up to room number, whatever. So I went to room number, whatever. And there was this synaptophore. Ravi came and said, okay, you do this on this side and you do this on the other side. And that's it. He wrote some numbers and he went off. Goodness, I was left with some numbers I had no idea about. But I think when you're thrown into the deep end like this, you learn very, very fast. So I immediately went back and read everything I could lay my hands on about synaptophore, about squint, about everything else. But I think what actually did well for me, and I tell this to every resident who has been through me, is that if you see something during the day, which is not something that you have seen before, spend half an hour in the evening, just half an hour in the evening while that patient is still fresh in your mind, to read a little bit about it and say, I did see this, I missed this. Maybe I should have looked for this. If you do that, that cements everything in your mind, and for the rest of your life, you're unlikely to forget it. Because I think a lot of residents and a lot of people just tend to say, I'll read this at the end in the exam, and you sort of mug up enough to pass an exam. But the exam of life is something totally different from the exam at the end of an MS. So this daily reading probably did me the best. And as you very rightly said, we had a lot of very tough consultants. And because I was a junior most, all the rounds started on my bed. So you can believe me, I didn't sleep the night before. All the 6 beds I had mugged up everything I could possibly do, because otherwise they were very rude. And, it was really something that you didn't want to happen to you. So I think they were actually nice people. When you finally get to know them, they're very nice. But this is their way of making sure that you do your homework before you come. So I think that is what really pushed me. And then, if you do this well enough, I think you learn quite a lot.
So, madam, it is very important to have a peer group at that time, a very stimulating, a very competitive, yet a very supportive peer group at that time. Did you have a great time?
I had a great time. I had a really great time. And you're absolutely right. At that time in RC Center, we had 2 things. We were very few people. Each batch was 5 or 6 people. And we had group discussions. So it was, those in the first semester, second semester, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, there were, in each group, there were this entire sort of spectrum of people. And before every presentation, whether it was a journal club or whether it was a seminar, we had to have this group discussion in which each person had a role. Like the first semesters and the second semesters would do anatomy, physiology. The third and fourth semesters would be, you're looking at what is clinically sort of relevant. And the fifth and the sixth semesters would be looking at what's new. I mean, what's the latest? What is now available kind of thing. So the discussions were really good. They were really good. But beyond this, I had friends like GC, Ravi Thomas, who were ready to have a debate at the drop of a hat. So, everything from optics to anything, we just sort of sat and talked about it. And we didn't believe anything that anybody else said. So we were really sort of debating thoroughly before we actually said, okay, chalo, maybe this is the way to go kind of thing.
That's really nice, madam, that you didn't believe what everybody else said. I really like that approach very much. Now, madam, I will go to a slightly different topic from your postgraduate days. My research tells me that you married when you were 32. Now, madam, that was not the usual age of getting married, at those times at least. Now, was there no pressure from your parents or from your grandparents at that time? Or if at all? Please go ahead, madam.
What I was going to say was that, I actually decided I was going to be a spinster. I didn't actually plan to get married. And so you can see that my husband made a great impression. And
obviously.
So somewhere along the way, I think I changed my mind and then said, okay, all right, let's give it a try kind of thing. But otherwise, I was not keen on getting married at all. And my parents were not particularly bothered. I think my father was an ophthalmologist, and he said, I mean, like, if you find somebody good, it's a good thing. Otherwise, there wasn't that much pressure. No.
Oh, wow. That's very progressive parents, madam. And especially, I don't think your grandparents were around.
No, my grandparents were around for a while, but they also didn't. I think maybe, as you say, I was lucky, and nobody said, get married at 18 or 19 or something. Yeah. And I can tell you that I went for the CMC interview when I was, I think, 17 years old, and one of the questions at the interview was, why should we take you? Because you'll finish when you're 23, you'll get married, and then you'll stop working. So I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to stop working. I will continue to work.
Wow.
So, madam, I'm Dr. Simi. I thank Dr. Gopal, Dr. Srini, and Aru sir for giving me this great opportunity to talk to you. Now, I would like to peep into your personal life, madam. When your children were born, who was in charge of your household? Were your parents or in-laws available to run the house?
No, we didn't have anybody in the house, but my mother-in-law was a brick. She was really good. And I can't tell you how nice it was when we had our first child, that she lived about 4 or 5 kilometers away from us. Okay. So I would get up in the morning, wrap the baby up, sleeping, take the maid, the dog, and the baby, and deposit them with my mother-in-law. Oh. And I would come back at 5 o'clock to have a nice cup of tea, some snacks, and then I would pick the baby, the dog, and the maid and take them back home.
Oh, that was very fortunate. Like, many people, many people won't get that opportunity to have it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Even if you leave with the maid, you won't be comfortable while working.
No.
Yeah, that was good, madam. So how, that's true. So how good was your, tell me, ma'am.
But also the AIMS had a very good creche.
Yeah, that was my next question. Like, how was the support from the RP, otherwise AIMS, like till your children were able to look after themselves? How much support you got from AIMS?
Very good support, and luckily we were on the campus. We were on the campus, okay. So I think the creche was a wonderful place. It was looked after by the director's wife and faculty wives. So they made sure it was a clean place and the babies were looked after. They were trained for their interview in school. So I mean,
everything they did from there. Yeah, that is good.
Yes, it was very nice. Also, it was so close that at sort of 11 o'clock coffee break, Dr. Sood would say, go and see the baby once and come back.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that must be so nice. Like, you must have felt so relieved.
I would run across, see the baby, come back. And also between my husband and I at that time, he worked largely sort of in the evening. Okay. So that, in the morning was when the creche looked after the baby. In the afternoon, he was home. And then by the time I got home, he would go off.
He will be there. Oh.
So I think everybody sort of supported.
It was all adjustment, and you were comfortable working. Huh?
Yes.
Okay, madam. Okay.
So, madam, now we move away from home towards your workplace. And madam, AIMS and therefore RP Center, like any other government institution, is not immune from political machinations. What is your take on this aspect, madam?
I say just do your work as well as you can. Getting into politics doesn't help anybody. I think what matters at the end of the day is your work. So I don't think I ever tried to get into politics. Most politicians were shown the door by me. They were told to wait their turn. So, I mean, I wasn't very popular from the political point of view, but I think I did well by my patience. And I mean, having retired now, I think, those sort of 40 years of hard work at AIMS paid off in the sense that, people do respect you for your hard work, which they may not have done if I was, a political favorite or something like that.
Yeah, That is a point, madam. But would it happen that something which you wanted to get done, like say a project or something, that was stalled because of some person's political connections stalled it? Did it happen like that?
Well, I mean, there were sort of promotions which didn't come my way because of political pull and things, but I didn't really mind.
It didn't matter. Yeah,
it didn't matter. And I think in RP Center, the good thing was that there is more than enough work for everybody. So there was not much of this that project will go to somebody and not to somebody else. There was enough work for everybody, and the atmosphere in RP Center, all said and done.
Ma'am, I didn't hear you in the last few sentences. I couldn't hear you actually.
I was saying that basically the atmosphere in RP Center is very cooperative.
Okay.
All the students will say that there was never anything that
people can't do.
Okay.
Everything was open to everybody.
That's very nice. So my next question is actually on similar lines. You have actually, as you have said, you have highlighted, you are actually a no-nonsense person. So do you have any memories of encountering discrimination or paternalism? Did you wish it would have been better if I were a man?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
now, yes,
Yes,
ma'am. Now, yes.
One second, 1 minute. I don't know what I've done.
I think probably madam got a call or something like that.
Possibly.
I'm really sorry. I think something happened to the
Bluetooth.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Yes, very
Okay,
clearly.
sorry.
Yeah.
I think by mistake I pressed the wrong button.
That's okay, ma'am. May I repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, you highlighted before that you are absolutely a no-nonsense person. So do you have any memories of encountering discrimination or paternalism? Did you ever wish, if only I were a man, I could have done this? Did somebody wish like that, tell you like that?
No, I think I've been quite lucky in my life. I think nobody has actually told me you can't do this. I think that it is also a kind of expectation that you may have sometimes. You're a little bit reluctant to do things, thinking that somebody else will probably want to do it or will not allow you to do it. So I would say that, just go ahead and do what best you can. I keep saying this, it is the best. It is the hard work that shows,
Absolutely.
I would like to say that, my first love was retina. So I worked in retina for almost 4 or 5 years. And then when I got a faculty position, I was told that, there is no faculty position in retina, there's a faculty position in glaucoma. So I was, quite disappointed. But then I said, to hell with you. I will be the best glaucoma person there is. And
definitely
you proved it. And you proved it, madam.
Retina's loss is glaucoma's gain.
No. So I think it does happen if you let it happen also. I think a lot of the girls I see are a little diffident, but you should just put yourself forward. You'll make mistakes. Somebody may laugh at you, but you put yourself forward out there and, things work out. Things do work out.
That's a very nice answer, madam. Very put yourself forward is a very nice answer. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Now, madam, I've heard that you're a sports enthusiast and that you love tennis and that you are even a member of the national basketball team. So who is your favorite player in tennis?
I think Nadal. Nadal is everybody's favorite at the moment. He's such a fighter.
Yeah.
Such a fighter. I think he teaches you that, you can at any age, you work hard enough, you'll do well.
Do you still play tennis, madam?
I try to. I'm afraid not enough.
Yeah.
But
And what? Yeah. Okay. Okay. And what
Yeah,
kind of other physical exercise do like do you do any find time to do exercise daily?
Yeah,
Or any
I do a
yoga?
little bit. I do a little bit of yoga. My husband will say very little, but yoga, I swim.
Okay.
Yes. And
you get
now
time
that
to
I've
swim.
retired and I have time, I am thinking I'll learn golf.
Yeah. Oh, so you're venturing into a new field, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's nice. So daily you do some yoga, no other exercises, huh? Just yoga is a good.
No. We have a dog. We've always had a dog.
Yeah.
So we've had to take the dog for a long walk. So 4 or 5 kilometers in the morning.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
And then again in the evening. So, I mean, there is enough exercise. And I think that's also a good thing. It keeps your mind ticking also.
Yeah. And what are your other hobbies, madam? I read that you like gardening also. So you find time for that also, ma'am?
Yes, yes. I think now I find a lot of time for it. So I'm very passionate about my gardening.
Okay.
I like trekking and bird watching.
Oh. So you have lots of hobbies. Yeah.
Yes. I have lots of hobbies.
Yeah.
And actually, I think the way we got into these hobbies was that we were traveling with a friend's children one day.
Okay.
And our children were there as well. And we said, okay, let's look at names of birds. So everybody started talking about names of birds and, the usual myna, eagle, those kind of things. And then suddenly these two little boys at the back said, green pigeon, gray hornbill. And I said, they were only about 8 or 10.
So they knew better than
you. And I
you.
said, they're pulling our legs. I don't think there's a green pigeon. I don't think there's a gray hornbill. And I went promptly and looked at a book. And of course, there were green pigeons and there were gray hornbills. And in our house, actually, we have a garden. Okay. So then I started looking at the trees and there were green pigeons over there and there were gray hornbills. And I said, the mind, the eye only sees what the mind knows.
Yeah, true.
So what is important is that, you look around and you read a little bit and you'll find so many interesting things in life.
True.
So true.
That's good to hear. How true. Yeah, madam.
Ma'am, coming back again to your work, ma'am, tell us actually about your experiences as a teacher. And what about your preparations before a class? And do you think that students now and those at the time when you were a student are different? How is it, madam?
All right. I think my favorite quotation about teaching is again from Professor Sood. So we were having a sort of seminar on undergraduate teaching one day. And he said, students are like a garden. Some like the shade, some like the sun, and some are in between. So I think that captures the essence of teaching. You have to see what the resident or what the student wants. Does he want to shine and come in front and answer every question? Or does he want to be sort of gently coaxed into telling us what he knows? So I think we have to understand that, out of, say, 100 students you may be teaching, there will be 10 who will be gung-ho and want to answer everything possible. There will be 10 who will not answer a thing unless you can slowly sort of tell them, okay, what do you know? Build on it. While the other 80 sort of look after themselves. So I think we have to be aware of this sort of distinction and make sure you appropriately sort of look after all three types. As far as teaching when we were there and when we were students, all I can say is we had 15 volumes of Duke Elder.
Yes, ma'am.
We had no internet. We made cards for presentations. There was no PPTs and things that we could use. So it was hard work. It was very hard work for us. And we had Dr. L.P. Agarwal, who would actually come to the library at 12 o'clock at night to see which student was still studying at 12 o'clock at night. So I think we put in a lot of effort. I think we gained a lot from it. While what I see with the current lot of residents and students is that reading doesn't come easily to them. I think they're more the audio-visual sort of generation. So we have had to adapt our teaching. You know, they are happier with a presentation, with a PPT, and they may retain at least sort of 50% of what you present in your presentations. But if you expect them to go back and read, it is not going to happen. I think I'm very impressed. The last time I came for one of the Kerala Society PG sort of case presentations and things, I think they were wonderful. But I think what's happening is that there is so much information that nobody knows what is important and what is not important anymore. So I think in the old days, when you read one volume of Duke Elder, you knew this was the information you had to remember. But now with so much choice, sometimes, you know, you get a little bit carried away and, you know, you think what I've read is the answer, but actually there are so many pros and cons to everything in ophthalmology. So it's nice to have a mentor who actually points out and says, this is important. This is what you're likely to need. Otherwise, you can just reading papers and books and things without actually understanding or picking up the important bits.
That's a very valuable point, madam. That's nice to have a mentor, madam. But how many people do really apply themselves to become mentors is very different matter at all.
Yes, I think it's a very, it is a little challenging, but it's very, very rewarding.
Yes.
I think if you can see your residents, and I say this to a lot of people that, you know, residents in RP Center come from all over the country. So the first semester, you'll see them looking bewildered. By the end of the third month, they are now sort of fitting into the center. So it's really nice to guide them through and say that, you know, don't listen to bad advice.
Yeah.
Don't, because the residents also have, or students these days know, I think, what is priority, what is important. They are not interested in saying, I know everything. They want to know enough to pass. They want to know enough to do whatever they have to do, which is nice because it says that they are smart enough to know what is to be done. But I think they lose out on the fact that actually there are so many other sort of information which could help them when they finally go out. Not every PACG patient is going to look the same. Not every patient with uveitis is going to present the same way or respond to your treatment the same way. So if you have read about the different kinds of uveitis and the different ways of treating them, somewhere in the back of your mind that will come back. Otherwise, you know, it's okay to just lump uveitis as, you know, granular matters, non-granular matters, and just move on with that. But knowing the nuances also, I think, is important by the time you come to the third year, definitely.
So true.
Okay, madam. So now how would you like to, now we have joined at Dr. Shaw's hospital, how would you like to describe a typical day at AIMS and now at the hospital where you're working? How is it different?
Okay, at AIMS, I was working 5.5 days a week. And the days started at 8:30 and went on till 5:30 without a break. So what was interesting, I think, was the fact that there were these smart students, really smart students, who again were very happy to question anything you do. Why are you doing this, ma'am? Why didn't you try this, ma'am? So it was really wonderful to interact with them. Also, you know, it keeps you young. They tell you what the latest fashions are. You know, they tell you what the latest movies are. So, you know, it keeps you very occupied.
And you feel young also.
You feel young, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Also, it was very organized. So we had 2 days of operations, 2 days in the OPD, 2 days of teaching in the ward. So it was a very organized, and, you know, you had a different thing every day to look forward to. So it was very, very nice. I think it was hard work, but it was good work. But in Shroff, I now work 5 days a week, half a day every day. So from I don't think I can ever remember being home in the morning. on a weekday. So now I'm open. I mean, I have 2 days in the morning when I'm home. So I'm getting after everybody in the house and they're saying, go away, go away. Why aren't you working? Then I have 3 afternoons free. So that gives me
can
time
pursue,
to
pursue your hobbies like you.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Madam, again, coming to a different topic, like after your retirement from AIMS and then you joined Dr. Shroff's hospital, I have also heard that you and your husband have adopted a village in Uttarakhand, madam. Would you be willing to speak with us about your work there?
Well, it's not really adopt. I think somebody has misunderstood this a little bit. We have a house up in Uttarakhand, just outside Nainital, and there's a small village there. So we try and help the school in that locality. My husband was sort of setting up a cricket tournament and cricket and whatever for the youngsters. We try teaching them a little bit of English. If they have a medical problem, we try and solve it. So it's not that we've adopted, it's just that they're neighbors and we are helping the neighbors.
Okay. I literally thought you have adopted, madam.
No.
That was how I got the information. So I was thinking you would be, I didn't know whether you would be willing to talk about it or not.
No. I think this is, I wish we had the time. The thought was after retirement, we were going to retire there. But I think, it's good to keep yourself occupied. So another few years I will be here, and then who knows, we may retire there.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, you have a special relationship with Kerala. Your father, Dr. Sihota, is very lovingly remembered by the people of Palakkad. Like he used to see patients till he passed away last year, I believe. And for the benefit of our audience, I want to inform that your husband, Dr. Hemant Paul, is part Malayali.
Yes.
So we have a small video by a person who is very close to you. And today being International Women's Day, she wishes everybody in the audience and you, madam. So I would like Ankit to play that video, please, Ankit.
Gopal sir?
Does Ankit have the video?
No, sir.
Okay.
I don't have the video.
Okay.
Gopal, audio?
Audio, it's not there.
Oh, sorry.
Hello, everybody.
Can you hear it?
All, happy Women's
Yes.
Day. You all are very lucky to have Dr. Ramanjit Sihota for an interaction today. Though she has been a doctor to us all at some point or the other, basically I know her as a sister-in-law. She is, I think, the same skills that she brings to being a doctor, which is love, patience, caring. She shares that with us at a personal level very much. She's not a very extroverted person, but in a quiet way, she's a very solid rock. I think that is what people appreciate her for, even as a doctor, where she's so caring about details, about giving particular attention to everybody. So I hope you enjoy the conversation with her. Bye.
And that was Mrs. Beena Paul, who is a multiple award-winning editor and chairperson of the International Film Festival of Kerala and one of the leaders of WCC. And she is Madam's sister-in-law. Madam, what are your, how is your experience with Kerala?
I think Kerala is a beautiful place. And I think my father decided after he retired from the army to settle down there. He was really I think he really enjoyed being there because people were welcoming. A lot of people thought with a name like Sihota, he was from Japan.
Oh,
So
wow.
so he actually put up a board, at one time to say that he had a DO from London and an MBBS from Amritsar, from Lahore actually at that time. So he had to sort of tell them that, no, I'm not from Japan, I'm from here only. And I think he thoroughly enjoyed himself. I think even today, I mean, I was there, I think about a month ago in Palghar, and there were still patients coming and sort of insisting that they always wanted to be seen there, that they didn't want to be sent anywhere else because their grandmother had been treated, their mother had been treated. So they said, no, we want to be seen by the doctor. So there was my mother trying to explain to them that, no, I'm sorry, he passed away, there's nobody here. So I think it is a tribute to the fact that, people were willing to come to some outsider. They were willing to be treated. And I think, as you said, I think a year before he passed away, he was seeing patients. And he was really grateful for everything that Kerala did for him. And I think we were in Trivandrum over Christmas this time. So it was really nice to walk around and meet a lot of people and walk around the Saudi and everything.
Okay, madam. Do you speak Malayalam, madam? Do you know any words in Malayalam?
I know Tamil, so I get by.
Oh,
so
my
Malayalam is a very, very mix of Tamil and Malayalam.
And Malayalam. Okay, madam. So now that you're told us about your parents, tell us about your spouse, your children, and their activities, ma'am.
Well, I think we have now 5 minutes left. I've had enough of this now. So in 5 minutes, I'll tell you what about it. My husband is also an ophthalmologist. He was working at the RT Center initially. Then he moved to Bosch and Lomb. He became a corporate sort of ophthalmologist. Okay. He then retired and now enjoys himself golfing and on his motorcycle. So he loves those two things and he's traveling around all the time.
Okay.
Our son is a lawyer in London. Okay. Our daughter works for Unilever.
Okay.
So
that's
I
it.
think that's it.
Okay.
That's it. They were all there last weekend, so it was great fun.
Yeah. Just a final question, because the ophthalmology workforce is veering more and more more towards women in terms of the numbers. And now we find that about 94% of the new PGs are ladies. So what is any special advice to those budding ophthalmologists, madam?
You see, I would think my advice is that have very good relationships with your in-laws and your own family. Okay. Because at the end of the day, they are your support system.
Yeah.
Maids will never sort of stand in.
Yeah.
And also, I think sometimes you have to adjust a little bit in the sense that even if you have to take, a promotion a little late, it is probably better to spend those years with your children and make sure that they are grounded well, because you can always catch up. There's never a problem with catching up with work, because, sooner or later when they're about class 7 or class 8, they don't need you.
Yeah, that's
but what they do need you is that first 5 years or so. So, I mean, I again have a story where I have a friend, a very good friend, and after our son was born, I think you lose touch with your friends. And then sort of, I think my must was 5 years later, I went to her and I said, I need some clothes. So she said, what? You've woken up finally? So I write off 5 years of your life for every child.
Yeah.
Because, you're doing your work, you're coming back, you're cooking, you're sort of baking, you're running around making costumes for their sort of parties and things like that. So, time just flies, but it's worth it. Even if you have to sort of burn the candle at both ends for those 5 years, the children are well grounded. After that, I think they take care of themselves. And I would like to say that children of working mothers actually become independent and self-reliant much more than, patients, the children whose mothers may be at home.
Yeah, true. They become independent.
Very self-reliant. I think
Yeah,
self-reliant.
yeah. Thank you, madam.
So, ma'am, we come to the end of our interview. And I thank you very much for being so forthright, madam. You've shared so much with us. And I think many of our people who have been wanting to hear from you are satisfied to some extent. Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you so much. It was so kind of you. I didn't expect this when Gopal said, will you take part in the glaucoma week? I thought it was one presentation.
I
Gopal was
for 10
saying.
minutes, and I've been caught into this. Gopal, I will remember this.
Thank you, madam.
Yeah, ma'am, please take it on Gopal.
We had a great time, madam. Thank you so
It
much.
was really wonderful. ma'am.
Sunday we will meet. Miss Srini and you will meet. Foundation Day dinner. Please take it kindly.
No, Gopal, me and my wife are so impressed with this dialogues happening. So I'll make sure that all the girls in KSOS will watch this, because it's an informal discussion, but there are a lot of take-home points from whatever madam has told. They'll be very valuable for their life, for their success in life, their success in their family life. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your experience.
Thank you so much, madam.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Bye, madam.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Ankit? Ankit?
Live was ended.